I apologize if I'm all over the place on this one. Yeah, this is going to be a long one probably because I'm just sort of freely associating and it's probably a bit of a brain dump. Um, so Paget said something that, whoa, oh man, really made me think. This is interesting. So she said that basically uh, that when the YangGang starts calling out these mainstream media outlets for not covering Andrew Yang or being unfair to him, turns out that's good business for them. So they benefit. They don't cover Andrew Yang, and then they benefit from a lot of exposure because of the Yang Gang bringing a lot of attention to them. Well played, mainstream media. Alright, so how do we fight this? We don't want them to have all that attention, but at the same time, we gotta call it out. Not sure how to play this one. That's a tricky one. I don't know, maybe, well, I'll tell you what, something interesting that did happen is CNN had this image of Andrew Yang being like hoisted in the air, crowd surfing, and had something Andrew Yang-ish in the title. I don't remember what it was. And then when I was reading the comments, expecting to see a whole bunch of John Yang stuff, the comments kept saying that this is clickbait. This image is clickbait. It's not really much about Andrew Yang, but they use it as clickbait. I was like, all right, okay, I see what you're doing now. Now you're using Andrew Yang and the Yang Gang to help your business without endorsing him or giving him coverage. Interesting. I'm sure we'll figure out a way around this. This sucks because we do need to call it out, but at the same time, we don't want to give them any more press because they suck. Mainstream media sucks. It's a shame that we still have so many people who watch it and listen to it and read it. But anyway, so another thing I wanted to talk about, this one is purely speculation on my part, but like, Andrew Yang was at the Asian American Pacific Islander or some summit or something talking about. So, okay, this is just purely my speculation and all that. He's doing those types of things to help shore up a little bit more of the Asian American base, to get them a little bit more politically engaged and such, and just through his own identity of being Asian American, hopefully others will see that and support him. And interestingly, I looked at some of the audience shots and the seats were not filled. I was like, man, you take that to like Iowa or someplace, like those seats will be filled, So, I feel that Andrew Yang is kind of probably a little frustrated with the Asian American community. I mean, here's the other thing, like, not even so much that, like, he just doesn't care about identity politics. This is not of very much interest to him. He even said so on Bill Maher's show, where he's like, that's a really poor way of trying to get things done, trying to unite the country through identity politics. No, that's not a good way, so he always spins it right back around to freedom dividend and solving the real problems. Like, once you start talking about identity politics, it's like, all right, some of these things can lead to immigration issues and all that, but he wants to spin it right back. I mean, he even said his dream is to eliminate poverty from existence. I mean, that's pretty awesome. So I mean, 60 Minutes had this little thing. I think it was 60 Minutes, or no, sorry, it was NBC. They had a little clip on from that summit that he spoke at about how Andrew Yang was bullied when he was a kid. He shared that story, and against racist slurs and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I mean that stuff is good clickbait because we live in such an identity politics time, and okay, yeah, whatever. But I mean, he's telling you that part of the narrative just because they asked, and he's being open and honest, and also just to show how much of a fighter he is. You know, his he doesn't necessarily want you to focus on that. He wants you to focus on his solutions. Like that is what he's all about. So I mean, I don't know, this identity politics time is just really can be really frustrating at times. But anyway, that's just my thought. I don't think he cares much about that stuff, but I know he knows that he has to do some outreach to the community that he's part of. But when it comes to identity politics, I don't think he cares one bit about it. He's like, I'd rather go where the truckers are, where the call center workers are, and I want to talk to them. So anyway, so that was that piece. I saw. I want to get off the race topic for a second because I have to come back to it because of a video I saw. It was a good video, but I just recently discovered this person, Emmett Short. He's got this show called Knee of the Curve with Emmett Short, and he said something really great. Like, he referenced this Chris Rock piece, which was awesome, because remember when Bernie was talking about the federal jobs guarantee, that's what the Sanders administration would do, and he played the clip of Chris Rock. It's so funny, you gotta see it, of Chris Rock basically saying, like, the difference between jobs and careers, and there's this whole thing of people wanting to work and their work gives them meaning and purpose. And he's saying, like, yeah, when it's a career, but not necessarily when it's a job, which is a great point, I mean, it's like there's nothing called the federal career guarantee, is there? Federal jobs guarantee. What kind of jobs? And then they cut to Bernie talking about, fixing infrastructure and all that. It's like, so you want me to be a construction worker? And then he said an expletive right after that. It's pretty funny. I highly recommend it. I think I'll put links to all this down below. So that's a pretty cool channel. It's a very futurist-oriented channel. I like that, and it definitely is showing some support to Andrew Yang. I also came upon this really interesting channel, Matt Dizzle, and he had this really interesting video that I saw called "Black Voters Are Saying MSNBC is Racist Against Andrew Yang," and I think this was a really great video because. And he talks about, I'll put a link to it. He talks about, the more subtle types of racism that Asian Americans face, and you're seeing it at play, like with Chris Matthews and all these folks at MSNBC and such. And so just go ahead and watch that video. I won't necessarily like spell it all out, but here's the bigger point that I want to make about that video. And videos like his and his channel, and it's part of the just the legacy, right? That Asian Americans, when it comes to our voices, we're not taken all that seriously when we start complaining about stuff. Oh, like, go back and do your coding, right? Yeah, go back and make that software work, So that's kind of how we're seen, how Asian Americans are seen, and so for Asian Americans to step up and call something racist can turn some heads, but when the African American community starts saying that you are being racist towards Andrew Yang, they'll listen more. That's just the way it is. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like the oppression Olympics, and they, their voice is. When it comes to issues of race, I mean, agree or disagree, I feel like their voice is stronger just because their history. They've dealt with it longer in America. So yeah, when they come out and start saying you are being racist towards Andrew Yang, maybe people will listen and like, whoa, okay, whoa. So So we'll work on that, kind of thing. So anyway, I thought that was a very interesting piece, and very well said. Um, what else have I seen lately that was interesting? Uh, yeah, I mean, I think one of the it wasn't an Andrew Yang piece, but it was something on Dave Chappelle. Like he recently came out with this new special called Sticks and Stones. By the way, Andrew Yang says Dave Chappelle is his favorite comedian, so bonus. Um, Such a cool guy, Andrew Yang. Anyway, and one of the things that he talked about is like right at the beginning, and he starts saying the lyrics to Prince's 1999, and I never really thought about the lyrics until he started saying them. Like, wow, that's kind of profound. And he basically tells a story. I won't spoil the story. Like, the story is the best part, but the message is basically, the message is, African Americans have survived so much brutality, yet you don't see necessarily a lot. I'm speaking completely unscientifically here. I'm just speculating, just based off the things that he said, that there might not be a lot of suicides, or as much as you see in other communities. And he was talking about a particular person who went through some really hard times, and he said it never once occurred to him to commit suicide. And the way he set it up was hilarious, was really funny. But there's something deeply profound about that. And I mean, and Andrew Yang talks about this. We're at record levels of suicide and opioid use. That's a huge concern. And I know people like, who are good friends, who they're telling me like these things that they're feeling, and hearing Dave Chappelle talk about that, it just really made me think, like, wow, how does one get to a point where you endure so much brutalization from the country, but yet you still power on with the will to live? How do you get that? How do you have that? What is the secret recipe for that? What is the experience you have to develop that? And it's something I'm going to look a lot more further into. And I think it's something that we can really learn from, especially those of us who are feeling down. And I have my moments where I feel down, about situations that I'm in. I've tried I'm trying to meditate more. I'm trying to just kind of do what are called things that are called thought replacement techniques. I'll give you an example. I know I'm on a big aside here, but I mean, I can thread this all back to Andrew Yang, because Andrew Yang said, like, that we're at record levels of suicide and depression and anxiety, and he definitely is a big champion for mental health, and feels that there should be a psychiatrist in the White House. So he's like, mental health is a pretty big issue for him, and so that's why I'm on this slight aside of a topic. One of the things that I think can help, if you're in this boat where sometimes you just feel like there's nowhere to go. There's really nowhere to go. What's the purpose? You question what is the purpose of any of this anymore? Well, a really good friend of mine basically said, ask yourself what it is that you want. What is it precisely that you want? And start focusing more on that, and start creating that as sort of a mantra, as a way to replace the thoughts of like, what is the purpose of it all, or just like, I'm looking all around, I'm trapped, I'm in a box, instead of putting your mind in that space, maybe try shifting it into, what is it that I want? What is it that I truly want? And that is a question I'm sure Andrew Yang wants you to ask you if he becomes president and he passes the freedom dividend. Like, all right, you got 1,000 a month, 12,000 a year. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you want? What is it that gives you purpose and meaning? Find it. Find it. So the mental health piece, I really hope it starts becoming more and more in the forefront, because people are feeling it. People really are feeling it, and it needs to be talked about, and not just as an aside sort of topic. Andrew Yang himself said it. He keeps saying it, like, when GDP is going up, but we are literally dying, something's really off and really wrong about that. And because of the just epidemic of opioid use, like, there's no question in my mind, like, you want to escape. So let's continue to talk about mental health. I mean, that's a real issue. For myself, just to keep myself sane, because if you've watched some of my past videos, I'm not necessarily in the best place right now, spiritually and mental health wise, but I'm working on it. I've started a blog. Feel free to take a look at it and read it. I'll put a link on it. It's called Da Brown Man's Meta. So DABROWNMANSMETA.blogspot.com. So blogspot, free blog. So anyway, if you're so inclined, read. If you're in that kind of mindset, I encourage you to read it, because I'm just sort of journaling my process and how I'm sort of trying to make my way out and really keep my head up high. Andrew Yang is one of them. I look to him as hope for a future that we can all be proud of. So, all right, I went way long on this. I really apologize. I'll catch you next time after the debates.